states covered. I have 28 DAT resource coordinators, 26 states covered. So, and I have my expertise people who have certain areas that they're just very well versed in, and they will actually talk to anybody across the country. So when I'm talking to somebody, I say, I think somebody I want you to talk to, because I feel they'll be able to help you with this, that I can refer individuals to. So the DAT Resource Coordinator program then was next. And then after that, before we brought April and the 3 regional people on, it was me and Kristen Bell who oversaw the community alliances. So we did the leadership training in DC. And actually it was the community alliance leadership that said, we don't have enough young people. We really need to get engaged young people. And that was how the junior leader program got started. So the junior leader program, I think, is in its 4th year. So we're really happy about that. Now we have a junior leader in each of the regions across the United States, and they're very impactful on the Hill. So, and we're building new leaders for the future, which is
exactly. I think you're bringing it along. If you can't hit, you got to figure out where your best bang for the buck is, as far as
right.
So
And then we started, one of the areas that outreach said was the area of English as a second language, Spanish in particular, was needed. And so Joanne Nakagawa and I worked together on the Spanish task force. Kristen helped me with that, especially in IEP season. She kind of picked it up. So we do not get a lot of Spanish calls. Last year, I think there might have been 10 calls for the entire year. The Hispanic population tend to want to stay to themselves and take care of their own. So
interesting.
Instead of having somebody in each state, we chose to have a Spanish task force or a group of Spanish support people. So I have a group of individuals. If I get a call, then I can connect them to somebody who can interpret for them and support them. And then if it's an area of transition, I'm going to connect them to the DAT resource coordinator. If it's an education issue, I can connect them to the education parent mentor. And then they do that go between the family and the other volunteer to make sure they get the support services. So we put that in place.
That's great.
And then the education parent mentor program started, and that was piloted last year. And I now have over 20 education parent mentors. I am so proud of this program. We have psychologists.
And how did you get the people that are on that? Was it just like a cry on like social media, or?
When I would talk to individuals.
So you kind of recruited?
For the TSC Connect. So anybody who wants to be part of the TSC Connect, there's a process. They fill out the registration form, we send them the orientation, and then there's an interview with me. And then
because that's when I remember, for the dependent,
So I want your journey. Tell me what your journey is so that I can get a feel for where you will fit in leadership. And so when I was interviewing people, I would say, I'm thinking about doing this program for educational advocacy called the Education. Is this something that you might be interested later on down the road when I do this? So I actually had a nice core group of people ready to rock and roll.
Ready and primed,
So I have educators, I have special educators, I have regular educators, I have school board member, I have all kinds of wonderful people. I actually have added Kate. She is a special ed director for her.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Oh man, I would love to live in that district.
So it is just so rich in knowledge. And so there's a series of trainings everybody has to go through before they.
And it's pretty rigorous.
Yes. So they have to be really knowledgeable in the Individuals with Disability Education Act, the behavior policy and idea. They have to go through Educator Parent Mentor 101, how to work with families. So there are 5 trainings that they have to go through before I will even let them start taking calls. And then they have to work with me for a year.
Wow.
So that I know. So one of the issues with the board is that they're representing us, and you're in a school system. We can't have somebody who's adversarial. We can't have somebody who's pounding the tables. We have to have somebody that's going to build relationships, which is
and not alienate that's tough.
And a good advocate builds relationships because they're there to build that rapport with the school and the family so they can walk away. So their job is to empower the parent and walk away so that the parent does the advocacy and build that rapport. A good advocate does that. Unfortunately, out there, they're not all good advocates, but I always train advocates to build relationships. Not that sometimes you have to walk away. Sometimes you have to file due process. Sometimes you have to file a complaint.
Yep.
You do.
Yes, I know. I've had to do it, and I've been of the same, just naturally somehow. I think there's been times I've given in too easily, but over the years, it's like, I don't want to be adversarial with these people.
No.
One of the people on the special high up I run with, you know, and there's connections there. So, but there's some times that, you know, I'm pretty in my head. I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't know how I'm going to get around. But yeah, I think that's great that you focus on. So important.
Yeah, we really do. You heard Julie's story. I advocated for Julie.
Oh my goodness.
Matthew. And I am totally, she was the most professional parent I have ever worked with. I mean, the things they were the principal said, you know, an IEP is just something that we have. We don't have to follow it. I'm like,
yeah,
what?
I think she said,
this is crazy. So, you know, but sometimes you have to take that next step.
Right, of course.
And, you know, and so letting the parent mentors know that it's okay. Your job is to make sure parents know what their rights are. And if they have to take that next step, and we've done everything possible to build that relationship, take that next step.
Yep.
Because unfortunately, sometimes you have to hit a school system, have to hit them in the head and say, no. That's not what the law says. The law says I am an equal partner in this process. And you're taking me out of that loop. And that's not acceptable because I am the expert in my child. And my child has tuberous sclerosis. And nobody knows tuberous sclerosis, you know, except the parent. The parent knows their child.
And that's hard with the school sometimes because there's a lot of pushing back of the shame and blame. And that's been some of my experience. I think some of it have been my perception because I felt so beaten up by the whole thing that I was perceiving them pushing things off onto me. And I think there's always that line where do I pick up the ball and run with it, because they can't do everything for my kid. You know, I can't have this whole thing rewritten because,
I remember when I first started at the Alliance, Dr. Vicki Whitmore, who was in Steve's position, she was chief scientific officer and vice president, I think, at that time.
Right. I remember the name. And
her son, we had issues with the school system, and they actually questioned her. And the issue was panned. And they were
that's what it was.
Yeah. He was just manipulating her. He was totally manipulating her. There was nothing wrong with him. And her son is brilliant. He was brilliant. Yeah. So I advocated for her, and that was eye-opening to me because she's like vice president and scientific officer, and they're questioning her. But I will say I've advocated for senators, for attorneys, generals. I advocated for a major, and every one of them were treated the exact same way because they were the parent. And I was like, are you doctors? I've advocated for doctors.
That's just really sad.
Well, I actually advocated in one school system. The principal was so horrible, and we got it worked out. It was fine. And a year later, he actually walked into my office. He had married a woman, and his stepson needed services in the school, and I ended up advocating for him.
Wow, that's a beautiful turnaround, though.
Yeah, it was. And he was my go-to person if I needed anything, he would do anything for me.
Right.
Anything.
And, they don't know. And I think that as parents that when our feet hit the floor in the morning and before we go to bed at night, we've got a TSC something going on. And I don't think that we give ourselves enough credit a lot of times. I think you don't realize how much you're intricately involved in your child's life. And then, you're told to, or you're questioned, and it really can throw you off, especially if your mental health, that's one of the things that I feel like so strongly about is getting yourself intact, because this is tough.
Oh,
and if you can escape it in dysfunctional ways and you're not getting supported, that's going to happen. And the tan is going to play in, and it's just, it's complicated, Dena. I think you know that. I'm sure
It is. So, it is. And